Hey guys, Chad here. Just wanted to share some thoughts with you about some of the ideas that have kind of been brewing the last few days based upon where we're at, where we've been, where we're going, what we're doing. So I wanted to share some thoughts that I'm kind of like talking through. So this may be a little bit of a free-for-all forum, so to speak, meaning I may say things that aren't relatable exactly to the actual scenario that I may describe pertaining to the mind, but because it's applicable to my life. However, I'm trying to, I'm actually reaching into areas I haven't been before as I'm coming up with this process of moving to California from San Antonio. There's a lot of different areas of my brain I've never like really gauged into until recently as we've learned more about the subconscious. I still have to read The Power of the Subconscious Mind, working on that currently. So I'm not going to dig into that, but I do want to talk about some of these things I've been texting you guys about today because it's revolutionary in my mind, and if it's in my mind, then that means it should be in yours, or maybe you've already had that experience, and we can open up that conversation to get ourselves to another level of the authenticity of our group and the thinking of how is it that we get to that level of success when you're not anywhere near it. You're not even in the ballpark of where you want to be right now, and that's the problem. Is how do you come around to say, okay, what is it about my daily habits that I actually have to change in order to get to that next plateau? So this is where I've kind of been brainstorming in my head some of the ideas that I've come across, and I got a text. I have to see. It's a free form. This might be fast forward, whatnot, if you need to find a lender, etc. I'm working deals as I'm talking to you guys. I got other stuff going on. So you got to have the multiple lines of income, right? How are we going to get the multiple lines of income? Well, we have the marketing firm, we have the investment firm, we have the success centers, and now we're talking about crowdfunding, right? So let's kind of put all that other stuff on the side. Let's think about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is nothing new, nothing out of the box. We're not going to do anything new with crowdfunding. However, what we can do is capitalize on those gains that are here in San Antonio, here in Texas, here in Houston, here in Austin, whatever. So my question to you is, how much are we willing to invest into making that dream come to life? Because if we're not doing it, then that means somebody else is doing it while we're fucking talking about it. So you're either doing it or you're talking about it. Two different things. You're either physically present or you're just mentally. You're either physically present or you're not mentally there, right? So there's the barrier where you have to be physically present and mentally there and accomplishing your goals to get to the point of, okay, ideas plus action equals results. My mind is just so sorry. Forgive me, guys. All right, so ideas plus action equal results. The basics, the foundation, right? So you take that and let's move forward into, okay. So in my case, where do I begin? To be a transparent person here in this conversation, I've been in San Antonio for 7 years. I got out of the Air Force in 2010. I had no idea what I was going to walk into when I moved to San Antonio 7 years ago. 7 years is full of schools. I mean, throw some humor in there, right? So the only reason I moved here was for a girl. So that's not the right reason to move. That was just kind of like, oh, I was in love. Let me go ahead and do this, like, so I can be there with her. Great. So that only lasted like 2 years after I moved here. Two different personalities, totally different story. So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm in San Antonio. I have this house. I don't really like it here, but I'm here because there's a career here. Okay, I need some experience in networking. I've actually done that. So, I wanted to go to school, right? I did all these things. I fucking basically did everything except for marry the woman I moved here for. So, therefore, I'm figuring a lot of shit out because of the mistakes that I've made. In hindsight, I still haven't figured out a woman. Like, I don't think any of us will. That's not our goal. Our goal here is to figure out how do we get from point A to point B and not go through C. Because there's like, you have to hit a level. You have to hit a level every time you change, every time your mind changes. Is your mind soft? When I asked that question earlier, is your mind soft? Basically means, is your mind malleable? Is it moldable? Is it shapeable? Can it change? Do you know how to change those connections? Can you reach down into that area? It's all neurological science. There's nothing, it's not rocket science. Right there. So it's neurological science, it's not rocket science, right? So what you have to figure out is, what is it that would be a dramatic change in yourself that would cause the consequence of that change within yourself to be a fruitful product of your physical environment. So what I'm saying is, you have to shift that connection, blown up, you have to shift that connection within your mind. But your mind is what? Your mind is attached to your brain. Wait, no, it's not. Not physically, of course not. But in a theoretical conversation, how do you distinguish between a brain function and a mind function? How do you distinguish that? Besides, well, yeah, there's a physical part of your memory that houses those neuron connections that cause the synapses to go between those neuron connections that go through the entire brain, right? So, but what drives that decision? What drives that decision to be something greater? Well, for me, what I noticed when I was in California was I liked it out there because there was a creative element that I've never been exposed to. Maybe I'm coming off of a high. Sure, let's call it that. Let's call it that. Five weeks from now, am I still going to have the same hype? No. Why? Because not everybody around me has the same mind. But if I go to California and I have the same ideas that I have here, is that possible? Yeah. However, hindsight, the ideas that I have there will not be a product of the environment that I have here. Therefore, my ideas out there will be worth more, because in order to attain the type of success that I would need to get to, I need to surround myself fully with those minds. So is it a scary place? Is it a scary idea? Is it expensive as fuck? Is it a totally different move? Is it a life-changing event? Of course. But who else is going to do it? If you're not going to do it, who the fuck else is going to do it? You have to get up off your ass, make the change, and move forward. If not, you'll be having the same conversation 10 years from now. How do we get there? Well, of course, words are words, right? Well, let's back it up. Let's say, okay, well, how can we do that? How can we do this? Create a structure, create a foundation. Okay, I can do that. So in my case, I'm creating a foundation in here from a financial standpoint, because I have equity in my home that I would like to get out of it. So I don't even want to call it home, it's a house, right? I have equity in my house that I can get out to make that risk in a totally different location. But not only that, you also have a different mindset. So what I've also realized is, you see the color of my shirt, it's white, right? This goes back to 2 weeks ago conversation of when we were talking about mind cleansing, right? So what is mind cleansing? How do you benefit from that? Well, it's an obvious answer, right? But that's only like a part of the element, I guess I'm trying to say. So I think when you ultimately clear your mind, you also have to clear your environment physically. Because what's implanted in the subconscious that becomes conscious is all around you already, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like when we say we're stuck in a rut, we are literally stuck in our fucking puke. If you look around you, you have to change everything to become the ultimate being of what it is you want to be. Now, be careful. Some of you are married, some of you have family, some of you have kids, some of you have children. Great, wonderful. Take them with you. You got to, right? But you have to structure it in such a way that you're not risking their lives as much as you're risking your own. See, for me, this is different, because I have a son, yes, but he lives in Illinois. When do I see him? When I have the extra expense to go see him. So therefore, I literally have no roots here. Therefore, when I went to California, I saw the creative side of everything. I was like striking up conversations with random strangers, and that was so opposite of the introvert shy that I've come from. So if I'm surrounding myself with all this change, and I'm like, well, it's expensive, right? All these questions. But in the midst of questions, there's clarity sometimes that you need to focus on in order to realize the in order to realize the value of that idea that you have. I want to repeat it for some reason. I guess I'll have to record the video because that was hard for me to get to the end of that. But that's kind of what, and so here's the other thing. I hung out on Googleplex. Fucking, I don't even want to go there. Like, I'm watching people ride bikes free. What I'm talking about is like, okay, that didn't come out right. So what I'm talking about is like, okay, on Googleplex they have like this pod where they have all these bikes and stuff, like people can ride around freely. You don't have to pay. You don't have to like. It was just literally, I don't even know if it was computerized or not. It was, they would get on the bikes and they would just ride around. But they were the color of Google's colors. They were like green, yellow, blue, red. And they looked cool. They were just like, I was like, what the hell? Because I'm like driving around, like almost hitting a couple of them. I'm like, where the hell are these people coming from? Like, I mean, there's crosswalks everywhere, right? It's Googleplex. It's a big ass place. So I'm like weaving in and out of people. And I was like, wow, just the massiveness, just the massive size of the complex, of the vision, of that idea of, in me being a network guy, like just, I can't fathom how big their data center is. It's huge. It is just ginormous, right? So how do you house that idea? How do you wake up every day? Now here's the question. How do you wake up every day knowing that you're in charge of billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars? How do you wake up one day and just say, okay, I literally have $1 billion in my pocket. I literally could buy whatever the fuck I wanted to buy. How do you wrap your mind around the capacity of sustaining that long term? There has to be growth. It just makes sense, right? So take what I've learned over time, over the course of time. I'm only 32, and I say only 32. Dude, I can go out there, make just as much money as those if those motherfuckers out there can make that much money, there's absolutely no reason I can't make that much money. So when somebody tells me, oh my God, milk's $8 a gallon, oh my God, gas is $3 a gallon, it's an expense. Are you fucking overcompensating that expense, or are you not? Are you working? Are you doing the right things? Are you fucking working 3 jobs just to put food on the table? No, that's not the environment I'm trying to create for myself. So when people are like, oh, it's expensive, you're a negative thought in my head right now. Like, I just don't want to hear you. Like, I will not associate with you. And that's what I said earlier in my text too. And I said something like, I already said that here, but like surround yourself with that mind frame. But it was a good one that I said to you guys. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Oh yeah, well here's one. Fear drives you to make a decision that solidifies logic. I like that. That's deep, right? So fear drives you to make a decision that solidifies logic. Well, why would I say that? Why does fear do that for me? And maybe it's different for you. Everybody's different, right? So for me, fear, when I think of fear, I think of unknown. There's no clarity in fear. Fear is, you don't know what's going to happen. Because you've either experienced something that was similar to that before, maybe you learned the lesson and you weren't going to do it again. There's a type of fear. You put your hand on the stove, you're going to get burnt. Okay, I know, but now there's a difference between, maybe there's different types of fear too. Okay, we could talk about that. I don't want to get that deep into it right now. I'm just saying, there's fear factors involved with life. Life is a risk. Everything that you make is a risk. Every decision that you make is a risk because it's a choice. Whether or not you know the outcome of that choice or not is irrelevant when it comes to fear, because fear is not that emotion. Fear is not anger. Fear is not knowing. Fear is not being smart. Fear is not. It really is its own piece of the mind. And though, however, what I'm trying to say is fear drives logic, and logic drives an action to be created from those 3 elements, right? So, and that's where I went into, that was the other one, was perseverance, persistence, and of course, I can't think of the third P. I'm tired, but there's the three P's, you know? And so I think that would be another element, because I want to say it real quick. It's cool, because I think that was a good one. Planning. That's what brought me here to this camera right here. So I was planning in my head, walking around my house. How am I going to plan this shit? How am I really going to do it? Do you have an imagination big enough to imagine what it is that you really want? And I'm not saying that you just post a picture up on the mirror. I'm talking about you vision yourself, because you change your perception. There's 4 P's. Fuck, I can go all day. 4 P's right there. Perception, planning, persistence, and perseverance. So you can do so many things with those four P's. You just fucking piss on people. You just fucking say fuck perseverance, planning, uh, persistence. I'm just gonna piss on you. I'm done. Let's take over Google. You know, imagine that. Imagine that. Like if I was literally like if I really wanted to do some shit like that, I'm gonna take over Google. How's that sound? Let's knock out Apple. Let's make a flatter fucking Mac. Let's make it sleeker. Let's do that. We could do it. What are we setting our minds to? What are we setting our goals to? What are we setting our accomplishments to be? Because each one of those elements that make up your being also reflect on your family, you know, for the people around you, the legacy that you want to create, the purpose behind it. Are we all leaders or are we all followers? Are there only a few followers or are they all leaders? You know, what kind of group are we? What are you? What role do you play? Are you a follower? Are you listening? Or are you just going through the motions? Are you reading? Are you practicing your affirmations? Are you meditating? Are you doing hypnosis? Are you cleansing your mind and doing it all over again? And cleansing your mind and doing it all over again? And revamping, reinitiating, reinnovating, reinvigorating? All those things that come into play to keep yourself in check with your own goals. Because if you're not doing that, you're spinning your own wheels. And I don't like spinning wheels. They get bald, shit gets worn out, breaks, your car falls apart, you need a new car. You know? Anyway, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I'm not all over the. I'm sorry. Fuck that. Like, I'm doing right. You know, I'm trying to say, hey, I'm thinking about shit. Y'all should be thinking about stuff too. So let's now bring it back to what we're really talking about. You know, crowdfunding. I did some research on that. So crowdfunding is a great opportunity to get into, especially in Texas. And so I think what we need to do is create a. And I was talking to Tyler about this. We need to create like a website that is like a portal entry, and we're not going to reinvent the wheel. We're going to use what's out there, but we are going to manipulate it in a way that it's more functional, maybe brings in more clients, more investors. There's 2 sides to every coin. Which side are we going after first? How do we want to handle that? You know, I mean, I got people blowing me up all the time now. People see change in me. Whether y'all do or not, I don't know. I don't really care. I don't care what people think. I've gotten to a point in my life where I've fucking done so much. I've been through so much shit. You're either with me or you're against me. And if you're against me, get the fuck out of my way. And if you're not going to get the fuck out of my way, I'll punch you out of my way. Like, I'm done playing games. It's wasting my time. God, I'll have to take a look at it. Yeah, I got this one guy fixing my whole damn house. See? I'm like trying to fix my house so I can get out of here. I'm selling my bike. I picked up a truck from the rental place because I'm taking all this shit out of my garage. I'm taking action. What are you guys doing? Reading another book? Make sure that you practice what you're reading. Make sure that you're getting it done. You know, take those steps that we need to be taking as a team. Make sure you're communicating to your team members. That's what we're here for. You know, Rick's been through stuff. I've been through stuff. We all have. We all have stories to share. I think there's a transparent side of us that needs to become more authentic. And I use that word. You're going to hear me say that word a lot more. It's hard to be authentic with people when you don't know them. You're somewhat of a stranger. Fine, that's a fear. It's a limiting belief that you think that person's going to judge you because of what you've been through. And all it does is make you stronger, makes you wiser, and you're not going to make that same mistake again. That's the other side of fear I was talking about. If you keep making the same mistake, then you have no fear. Then you're not making a decision out of logic. But if you have a fear about the unknown, well, of course, that's natural human nature. That's why there's the survivability. And that was my thing too. I'm either going to sink or swim, whatever, But I'm fighting to swim. I don't think it's going to be a problem. In fact, I know it's not going to be a problem. And if it is, lesson learned. What did I do wrong? Better reassess it, redo it, do it right. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to share that information, get it out, and we've talked about doing videos like this before. It's actually, I like it, because now I'm saving my fingers. You guys can just check it out when you get a chance. And but that's it. Leave your posts below in the new forum, or click on a different forum to your right, and we should be good to go. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later.